We're here to talk to Andrew Scott about his exciting new book. It's all about stories, and it's a great insight into us as human beings. Andrew, a very good afternoon to you. Just tell us about this book and just the kind of information that's in it.
Okay, so the book is called Shifting Stories. And this word story is right at the heart of it, because what I mean by story is the kind of story we make up to understand reality. So what we think is our reality is in fact made up by our brains, because we interpret all the time the stuff that we're seeing, the stuff that we're hearing, what we choose to attend to, and we make up a story that we think is reality. So what the book explores is how understanding that and how recognising that that's how we understand reality can really help us. And a particularly key point is that we have several stories available to us about the very same reality. So for example, if I've got a boss who I don't like, and I think this boss is always on my case, my dominant story about that boss would be quite negative. But somewhere under that, there might be another story that's a bit more positive about the fact that sometimes she can be helpful, sometimes she's kind. But because I've got this story about her being negative, I disregard and discount those things. But if I attend to that more positive story, that opens up new possibilities for the relationship and new ways I can interact with my boss and understand my boss that can make things much better in the future. So that's why it's shifting stories, moving between the different stories of reality we have available to us.
So do we make up stories to fit reality then?
What we call reality, our personal perception of reality, is always made up. That's the core message of the book. What we think we see is actually an interpretation of what we see by our brain. We can't take in all the data. Our brains don't take in all the information available to them, everything we could hear, everything we could see. They're selective and they're interpretive all the time. And so our reality is a story. And because of that, we have other stories available to us if we attend to different things or think about them in different ways or interpret in different ways. And that's the richness I like to explore.
So you and I could attend the same event, see the same thing, but give a different account of it.
Not only that, but I could attend the same event and I could give two different accounts of it, both of which would be true.
So that means human beings have the ability to lie then?
This isn't about lying. I mean, we know human beings have the ability to lie. That's not new news. What this is about is different, and how it applies in the work context, which is where I've focused this book, is in contexts like when you're coaching somebody, helping them to move beyond self-limiting stories, or helping them to move beyond stories that make relationships difficult, or working with teams, helping teams to construct more positive stories about themselves and each other for the future, or working through change, organisational change, creating more helpful stories, again, that have more possibilities for the future. Or the other area I get a lot of work in is conflict. And often when people are in conflict, it's because they've got different stories about each other and about the relationship without knowing it. And by helping people understand that concept and explore these stories, often they can discover a new and more helpful story that both parties can buy into and believe in and make come true. Because there's a lot of self-fulfilling prophecy about this, that once we believe a story to be true, we'll tend to make that story come true. So it's a completely fascinating area.
So your book is out very shortly. We'll come on to how you can get hold of it in a moment or two. But in terms of the actual book itself, is it a novel? Is it a roller coaster of emotion? Or will I read something and then just make up a story?
Well, probably the latter. So the book's really in three sections. The first section explains what I've just explained now. The second section has a series of case studies looking at the application of that idea in contexts like coaching, conflict, change, and other situations like that in the workplace. And then there's a concluding section that's sort of some more discursive thoughts around story more broadly and taking the ideas forward.
Now, you've tantalisingly revealed the title, Shifting Stories. We know what it's called. I know you're in the final throes of getting it all ready for publishing, but when it is, where can we get it? Do we know how much it's going to be yet? Have you thought about where it's going to be and all the rest of it? Because we're all now keen to get a copy.
Well, of course. I know you'll be the first in the queue, Kevin. And yes, it will be available on Amazon, and it will be available as a Kindle ebook. It will be available, obviously, in all good bookstores. A good bookstore is defined by one that stocks my book, naturally. And it'll be available directly from me as well. So there'll be no problem getting hold of it. I promise you that.
Andrew, we look forward to reading it. Thank you very much indeed.
And thank you.